Hello everyone. In this topic, we will discuss the neurotransmission in our body. Our brain is the boss of our body that controls each and every mechanism that happens inside our body. Brain consists of various specialized cells called neurons. Each neuron is interconnected with the other neurons and communicate through the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the chemical messengers that convey the signals from one neuron to another, and this is how the brain controls each and every cells present in our body. Our nervous system can be broadly categorized into two categories. One contains the central nervous system that is formed of by brain and our spinal cord. Yes, this is the main central unit of our nervous system. Brain generates the signal which are then conveyed throughout the body with the nerves. Our central nervous system contains the interneurons, the neurons that are interconnected to each other only. Then the second one is the peripheral nervous system. This is a distribution system of our nervous system. The brain and generates the signals which is then conveyed through the spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system distribute it throughout the body. You can see here various nerves that are being come out from the spinal cords are then distributed in each and every part of our body, and this is how the brain can control every part in our body. It mainly contains cranial nerves which are generated from the brain, spinal nerves that are generated from the spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves which are the distribution nerves that are spread in the throughout the body. It contains the sensory neurons that are connected to the sensory organs to receive the senses or the stimulus, as well as it contains the motor neurons that are connected to our skeletal muscle and bones to signal them to move accordingly. So this is how our brain controls each and every movement and functioning of our body cells. The peripheral nervous system can be further divided into two categories. Autonomic nervous system is a completely involuntary nervous system. We cannot control the autonomic response that are being generated inside our body. This is mainly connected to the internal organs such as lungs, brain, heart, kidneys, intestine, and various glands. So these involuntary actions are being controlled by the autonomic peripheral nervous system, which is then further categorized into sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The parasympathetic nervous system is the is the signaling pathway during the resting state of our body. Whenever our body is in resting stage, the parasympathetic system is get activated and let us feel like cool and calm state. But whenever we are in danger or we have any excitement, the sympathetic nervous system get activated and release the neurotransmitters that generates the changes in our body which help to uh, conquer the fight or flight effect. So this is how the peripheral nervous system controls the moods and emotions in our body through the neurotransmitter. As similarly, the somatic system is a voluntary nervous system. Yes, this is a voluntary because whenever we have any senses through our sense organ, the sensory nerves of peripheral nervous system get the stimulus and then convey the signal to the brain, and then brain generate the signal to the motor neurons which effect on the effector skeletal muscle or bones to move the body accordingly. So this is how the CNS and PNS means centralized nervous system and peripheral nervous system act simultaneously to move our body or control the functioning of our body cells by the brain. Neurons are the basic unit of our body, of our brain, that controls the signaling pathways. Neuron is a cell which contains the nucleus, yes, and it has various Nissel's bodies, which are nothing but the endoplasmic reticulum that helps in the protein synthesis. It has various dendrites which receives the signal, but it has a long axon. It is just like a copper wire that convey the electricity. So in our neuron, this axon convey the signals in the form of nerve impulse, and this nerve impulse is being transmitted throughout the axon towards the terminal. This axon is being safeguarded by the thick myelin sheath and also the Schwann cells. So this myelin sheath protects the axon from any damages. At the terminal, the axon is divided into very fine branches, and each branch has a very at the end have a synaptical node which has various neurotransmitters inside it. These neurotransmitters are the chemical messengers that are filled in the synaptical vesicles at the end of every axon terminals. So this is the basic structure of a neuron. Neurotransmitters are the chemical messenger. They can be made of protein or various chemical structures, but they can be categorized into excitatory and inhibitory according to their action. But there are also some neurotransmitters that act on the both type of conditions, such as acetylcholine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. They act according to the requirement. Here you can see various types of neurotransmitters and their specific nature of functioning. Suppose adrenaline is a fight or flight neurotransmitter. It releases whenever our body get any stimulus of any danger or any excitement. So adrenaline releases and makes the changes in our body cells. Noradrenaline is a concentration neurotransmitter. Dopamine is called as a pleasure neurotransmitter. It let us feel the pleasure and changes in our body. Serotonin is called as mood neurotransmitters. Endorphin Endorphins are euphoria transmitters. Glutamate is a memory transmitter. So these all are various neurotransmitters that have a specific function. They release on a certain type of stimulus and makes changes in our body cells. The synapse is the process of convey conveying of nerve impulse from one neuron to another. As you can see, whenever the nerve impulse come at the terminal of presynaptic neuron, the calcium ion channels open, and which led the calcium ion to move inside the presynaptic node, where it ruptures the synaptic vesicles. These synaptic vesicles are filled with the neurotransmitters. So when these synaptic vesicles being ruptured, the neurotransmitter is being released in the synaptic cleft. In the postsynaptic neurons, there are specific types of receptors are there which receives the neurotransmitter and generate the impulse. So this is how the nerve impulse is being transmitted from one neuron to the another with the help of neurotransmitters. This nerve impulse is uh, conveyed in the form of action potential. You can also understand it in a process of exchange of ions. This exchange of sodium and calcium ion inside the axon is generate a action potential inside the axon. The Whenever an impulse is being generated, the sodium ion starts to move inside, and it throw the potassium ion outside the axon through the sodium potassium pump. So this causes the polarization of axon, and this polarization is then moved further throughout the axon by continuing exchange of sodium and potassium ion, and this is how a nerve impulse moves through the axon. We can also plot a graph between the voltage and the time, which is called the action potential graph. Whenever a stimulus come into the neuron, it opens the sodium ion channel. So it let in the sodium ion inside the axon, which starts the depolarization. When the depolarization reaches up at its peak, the sodium ion channel is being closed now, and it opens the potassium ion channel. So now what will happen? Sodium ion will not move further inside, but the potassium ion will move outside the axon. This causes the repolarization, and again the potential is in the decreasing condition, which is then followed by the hyperpolarization. And after milli of a second, the neuron comes in the resting state. So this is how the nerve impulse is being generated and transferred to move further to the next neurons. So we have seen how the nerve impulse is being generated and moved further. So this is how a dense network of neurons convey these signals in the form of nerve impulse throughout the body. You can see various nerves are seated here that covered in throughout the body and attached to every cells of our body. And this is how our brain controls the functioning of our body cells. Thank you.